What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show, powered by BetUS. Today, you had a tale of two Blazer teams. The Blazers fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder 137-114. The Thunder 5-0 on the season. The Blazers could not hand them their first loss. But my goodness, was this a game of runs that ultimately ended up in a 23-point loss after the Blazers were tied at halftime, 68-68. The Blazers were down 17 in the first half. Clawed their way back, had their most exciting quarter of the season in that second quarter, scoring 44 points against the NBA's number one defense, and then had another disastrous third quarter. That's the tale of Chauncey Billups. Blazers is they cannot get anything done in the third quarter, and they are horrible. One of the worst NBA teams I've ever seen in third quarters. Why is that? Maybe you guys can answer it in your call-ins, because today is the first call-in night of the season. I don't know exactly how we're going to format it, but we'll probably just talk for about an hour, then take your calls in the second hour of the post-game show. If you want to call in, join our Discord, link in the description box below, and click on the call-in on the left, and just be ready to accept your invitation to speak when we move to our call-ins. All right, we'll invite one caller at a time, and we'll hear what you guys have to say. We haven't done this in a couple of years, so I'm super excited to do it. Eric, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Positive. We scored by 10 points, the most anyone scored on OKC this year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a positive, but also we were 11-point underdogs and lost by 23.
Yeah. Man, this OKC team is really, I mean, not necessarily the exact same way, but it's like Golden State was for like 6 or 7 years, where you're like playing well and then you just blink or like make a couple mistakes and all of a sudden you're down 10 and then the lead's like 20 and you're like, what the heck just happened? Like it feels like it's like 30 seconds ago we were within 4 or something, you know? It's crazy.
You know what's funny about that is like the Blazers flipped the script there in the second quarter where they were down
Yeah.
17. All of a sudden you blink your eyes and they're down 4. And they were hitting a bunch of threes. But yeah, Eric, this game, there is some good from it, that second quarter specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of bad things to talk about from this game. I have like two guys and one specific coaching thing I really want to rant about today. So
Yeah, me too.
I'll get into that. And I wonder if all three things are the same as yours. I mean, we could just name them right now, or we could just get into it slowly.
Let's start with the coaching thing.
Yeah, what is your coaching thing that you want to rant about, Eric? Because I ranted about it on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter.
I did not. I actually, so I've been feeling under the weather the last couple days. Came home, fell asleep, woke up. It was like 7:45. Was able to catch back up, but I stayed off social media, so I didn't see what the score was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't really check anything online until after the game.
What's your coaching gripe today, Eric? Let's just dive right in.
All right. You have a 20-year-old, I think, comes in the game, hits 3 freaking three-pointers, is playing phenomenal, and you just take him right out of the game again? Like, what is going on? Free Rupert. Free Ryan Rupert, dude. Like, what is going on? Why did he come out of the game? What was Chauncey thinking?
Yeah.
He said there, oh, Rupert's hit 3 threes. Let's just take him out of the game, dude. Like, he completely flipped the script on this game just like he did last game. And then his reward is to just take him out. Like,
Yeah. There's two straight
disgusting.
games where he basically got this team back in a game after the starters played bad. This time it was in the first half. Last game was in the second half. So second straight, really good half from Repair. And gets taken out of the game. I mean, are we not rewarding good play when we're a rebuilding team that's going to lose probably 60 games? Why wouldn't you reward good play? That doesn't make sense. Eric, that wasn't even my coaching thing. And while you're saying that, I also thought of another completely separate coaching thing, okay? like there's two players that really frustrated me this game that I really need to talk about. There was also some good, and you can vote for the good in our player of the game chat poll. You can vote for the Blazers player of the game. We got 3 guys that I submitted for that. It's Avdia, it's Kamara, it's Repair. It doesn't necessarily have to be the best stat line or anything, just who you guys think was your player of the game. It's a community vote. So, but yeah, I mean, we got to reward good play and we got to hold bad play accountable. And it's just funny how Chauncey just sits there watching things happen and doesn't do anything about it. He acts like he's completely powerless, right? Like this third quarter, you run out this lineup and this team just starts getting crushed, destroyed, and you don't sub early enough. But also, Eric, the reason why they were down 17 in the first half was because they're trying to play some weird-ass matchup zone, and they're doing it against an OKC team that has 5 shooters on the floor pretty much at all times. You know, like, I guess Lou Dort isn't necessarily known as a shooter, but I believe he was around 40% last year, and then SGA is just a scorer, right? You got to respect him at all 3 levels. But he was 1 for 6 from 3 today, but like I don't care about that. He can shoot the ball. So you're going against a team with 5 shooters, and shooting destroys zones. And the Blazers gave up so many open threes with like Donovan Clingan trying to chase guys to the corner out of this weird matchup zone. And the end of the first quarter was disastrous because of this freaking matchup zone the Blazers are playing. And then they come out at the start of the second quarter in the same matchup zone and give up yet another open 3. And it's just like, why are you trying to play this zone that has to shift because they have 5 shooters and just can put at least 4 guys on the arc and shift your zone around? And then you have Donovan Clingan trying to run from the rim out onto shooters because the zone gets shifted. And you're giving up wide open 3s because of it. It's just dumb. Like, if you're going to do that, at least go small with that sort of game plan. But that drove me crazy. Can we stop doing weird BS zones? We saw the zone defense get killed last year when Chauncey decided to put, like, guards on the bottom of the 2-3 zone. And now he's doing this weird matchup zone that's not like it's not a 2-3 zone. It's more of like we're gonna like rotate the zone and shift. It's just a weird zone. It's kind of like a switching zone where like guys get handed off, and I don't know. It's a strange zone, and it has not worked this season. It has not worked at all. It has not looked good at all. And then you do it against this team, and it's like, oh, surprise, surprise. They have 37 in the first quarter. They have 68 in the first half. The only reason this was a game was because the Blazers shot an aberration from 3 in the second quarter, right? Like, they're not doing that often, and they still didn't even have the lead at the end of the first half with a 44-point second quarter. So it was just ridiculous, that zone. Pissed me off, Eric. I'm tired of Chauncey's zones.
On the flip side, if we have that second quarter against pretty much any other team, we're up by 20 at halftime. Yeah. But here's the other problem with the zone. We don't have right now, I mean, some of our young guys could become this, but we don't have that high energy rebound guy that's going to crash the boards. And so when Clingan gets taken out of the middle to have to contest those 3-pointers, we have the other 4 guys turning around and standing out of that zone. And Oklahoma City just walked in and got offensive rebound after offensive rebound. Aiden says Jabari, but Jabari wasn't in the game. He didn't. Repair took his rotational minutes in the first half at least. But the thing is, if you're playing that zone, you have to find a body every time, and you have to have all 5 guys crash the boards. And we just did a horrible job of locating Oklahoma City Thunder players and just giving that effort to get back into the play to grab a rebound. And you cannot continue to run zone if you're giving up 3-pointers, like you said. And then on top of that, if you force a miss of those 3-pointers, they're just getting the ball right back and passing the ball around the perimeter and getting another wide open 3-point shot. So like that combination does not work. And that's one of the main problems with the zone is you have to just have guys that are just nonstop rotating. Even if you make a mistake, you're hustling to make up for it. And that includes chasing down the rebounds. And when you're not getting effort like that from some of your players, even if it's just 1 or 2, it just completely ruins the whole zone. And so you can't do it unless you have five guys. Like Oklahoma City ran zone a couple times, but their five guys were locked in and they're all hustling around and they're all smart, good defenders. So you can get away with it sometimes. But I don't think you can when you have a young team that isn't the best defensive IQ wise yet. And then on top of that, there you have some low effort players on the boards.
Yep. Let's take a look at the team stats because it really illustrates how bad the rebounding was. The Blazers give up 14 offensive rebounds, and you might say, oh, well, they got 11, so it's close. The Thunder only played Chet Holmgren 18 minutes. Other than that, they were playing lineups where they were playing a wing at center. There was a time in this game where Alex Caruso was at center, right? Like, their next biggest player is like Ousmane Dieng, who's like a small forward, power forward type of guy. You're going that small, and you're getting 14 offensive rebounds against a much bigger Portland lineup. Like, Portland is, their commentators are touting, oh, we're starting 3 forwards and a center. We're starting Tamani Kamara at the 2. You got Avdia, Grant, Ayton, all this length. Blazers have one of the biggest teams in the league, and you're going against maybe the smallest lineup a team has put out this year for the majority of the game because the Blazers did a good thing and got Chet Holmgren in foul trouble, and you're giving up 14 offensive rebounds. I mean, part of that is you're playing a zone defense, but part of that is also just freaking laziness that I'm going to have to go into on just a couple of guys just not boxing out, primarily Jeremy Grant. But I'm going to save the Jeremy Grant rant for a little bit. Look at the three-point shooting numbers. 43% from the Blazers. Phenomenal. They also get to the line 12 more times. 12 more times. The offense,
good against SGA.
What crushed the Blazers in this game, Eric, was defensive rebounding, their lack of it, turnovers, 19 turnovers, brutal, right? And then also just that third quarter, some of the decision-making, some of the shots. That's what beat the Blazers in this game. And it's tough because, yes, OKC's a good team. And it would be easier to stomach this loss if it felt like the Blazers lost by 23 because OKC just outclassed them. But I feel like the Blazers should have been in this game at least. I mean, their defense, like, Ayton wouldn't get out and guard the perimeter, but the Blazers wouldn't go small to match their small ball lineup, so Ayton's just getting threes hit on him all game. Same thing with Klingon, but Klingon you understand a little bit more because he's not supposed to be a mobile big man. So I just... That's why OKC put 137 on the board. They're getting out and running off Blazer turnovers, and they're just spreading it out, hitting threes, and the Blazers' defense was never really, like, set in stone, and that freaking zone in the first quarter, second quarter was pissing me off, and it just feels like we kind of... You don't want to say this about a 23-point loss to a team that's 5-0, but it kind of feels like we beat ourselves, or at least we made this a much worse score than it should have been.
Yeah, I can see that. And on top of that, Chet was in foul trouble, too, so he didn't even play as much as he probably would in a normal game. So, yeah, that's when Ousmane Dieng's your backup center and we get out-rebounded like that, it's pretty bad. But the Blazers had, I think they were, 11 of 22 from 3 at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, so only 4 threes in the second half. OKC did a much better job of defending the 3. But that's what kept us or got us back in the game was that hot 3-point shooting. And when you only hit 4 threes and a half against a team that can score as much as the Thunder can score, that's probably not going to work out for you.
Yeah. Well, this part of the reason I feel like they only hit 4 threes in the second half, and this is my final coaching gripe today. This is my final coaching rant. Is because the Blazers were trying to take advantage of the small ball lineup the Thunder were running out there, and they were trying to force feed DeAndre Ayton. But whenever they have a matchup advantage, or whenever they try and force feed the big, they never design anything to try and get that big an easy entry pass or good low post position. No. And they always throw it straight down the court. They always throw it from the top of the arc. And that just drives me absolutely crazy because one of the things you're taught if you play like high school JV, one of the things you're taught very early on if you play any sort of basketball, Eric, is you do not want to make an entry pass straight down the court because it's not a good angle. It's really easy for guys to come in and tip that, especially if it's in the middle of the key, right? You got defenders to both sides, and it's really easy for the big to like fight over and deny that pass. Like, it's really hard on that big man because the defender can fight over on either side of you to tip away the ball. Whereas if you pass it from the wing, pass it, free throw line extended, whichever way the big goes, you really can box them out off the ball and get really good position to go up for a layup, right? That's why you see good teams when they try and enter the ball into the post, they swing it to the wing. They get a good angle. And okay, that's if you don't run a set play. You can run some stuff to try and get DeAndre Ayton good low post position and an easier pass to him where the defender isn't already on his back. But the Blazers don't run anything to try and feed their bigs, but it's like, the defense is small. OKC is small. Let's try and feed DeAndre Ayton. All we're going to do over and over and over again is just bring the ball to the top of the arc and try and throw it straight down. And I cannot, it is impossible to over-exaggerate how freaking silly that is for an NBA team to try and be punishing a small ball lineup, and all they're doing is just taking the ball to the top of the arc, telegraphing it, and trying to throw it straight down to a big who's posting up in the key, and when he catches the ball, he already has 2 seconds on him against 3 in the key. He immediately has to do something. He can't even take his time and work because he's already camping in the key trying to get the ball. It's just so blatantly bad, and it's a disaster. I mean, it's just one of those things with Chauncey Billups, though, man. Just one of those things.
Yeah, the thing is, too, when you have a guy like Caruso trying to guard a center like DeAndre, he's just waiting for that pass to come so he can jump in front of it. And you have to account for that, man. That's literally all he's trying to do is bait them into making that pass so he can go around him because, Ayton's not going to be able to hold off those guards from getting around him. So you have to either get downhill and make that guard commit to him and then the lob's available, or you have to find a way to get him to come around to the front by a fake entry pass or, like you said, different angles or whatever, and then seal him on the backside and lob it over the top. But when the Blazers did try to lob it over the top, it was from those bad angles like you were mentioning, and it allows the backside defender to easily get into the play too. So even if DA is able to catch a couple of those, he turns right into another defender, or there's another defender that is right there to take the ball or knock the pass away. So it's frustrating watching it. And then they just kept doing it over and over again. And it's Chauncey, come on, stop, man.
Yeah, brutal stuff, man. We're going to get into the good, but we're going to give you guys a few more minutes to vote for our player of the game because it's very close, just like it was last post-game stream. This time it's 41% for Tamani Kamara, 40% for Ryan Rupert. So we will give you guys a few more minutes because there's a couple players we need to talk about, the guys that struggled, and then we'll get into the good because there was some good in this game, and I don't want that to get lost or anything. So vote in that poll. Make your voice heard. But, Eric, aside from the coaching, man, there was just some really, really bad play in the third quarter. And it's frustrating for me when veterans on their second contract come out in the third quarter. It's been a theme this season, and their effort is subpar on the glass, on defense. And then on the offensive end, they just make terrible decisions. And that in this third quarter, and honestly kind of throughout the game, but especially in this third quarter, applied to 2 Blazer veterans. And those veterans were Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons. And Jeremy Grant, it's a little bit more cherry-picked, but there was a play where Jeremy Grant just literally watched his dude crash the board for a putback. I believe it was Isaiah Joe. And the ball went up. And I watched Jeremy Grant when the ball went up. It makes it even more infuriating seeing this when I watch Jeremy Grant when the shot's being taken, because there's just so many times where a shot goes up and he doesn't even look around for anybody to box out. He just sits there and watches the ball goes up and just stands there. And somebody will run in front of him and grab the board And then he's like, oh. Like he's shocked. As if that doesn't happen to him all the freaking time, Eric. His rebounding is as bad as it is because of a lack of effort. 3 rebounds in 28 minutes. When he decides to try and rebound, and occasionally when he boxes out, he'll get 6, 7 rebounds in a game. The problem is it's very rare. His rebounding sucks because he does not give enough effort on the glass. And when you got a young, scrappy team with some guys that play hard, it pisses me off having a dude making that much money on his, his 3rd contract, I believe. I don't even know what contract he's on. He's a veteran. He's supposed to lead by example. I've ranted about this, I think, in game 1. And he's just watching people run by him and grabbing rebounds because he doesn't care enough to try and go grab a rebound or box out. So I'm sick of that. And then after doing that, the very next offensive possession, he goes one-on-one and throws up one of the worst shots I've seen all season, where he's like fading back and throws it at the glass. I don't even think he hit rim. And it was just like that two-way sequence where he just watches somebody run by him and get a putback without any effort, and then goes down the court and just doesn't even pass and throws up some crap at the rim that doesn't even come close, is the perfect example of why I'm getting tired of Jeremy Grant.
Yep, I can't say I disagree with any of that. It shouldn't be this way, but is he just kind of, is his attitude of not really caring about his situation? Is that just basically the way he plays too? You wonder if he was on a team that was like, if you switch teams with him tonight, is he giving that kind of effort? Is he even get into a game on a team that if a coach holds players accountable like that, then does that help him maybe show more effort? But yes, it's been a frustrating theme, the rebounding from him. And especially when we talked about it with the zone, he is one of the players that just cannot play zone because he just does not, you cannot rebound with him in the game out of that zone. You can sometimes get away with it in other situations, but when your center's having to guard the perimeter or close out, and he's the power forward and the guy that needs to go in there and crash the boards, that's pretty rough, man.
Yep, it's brutal. It's brutal. The other guy, Eric, Anthony Simons was horrible tonight. Horrible. Decision making, horrible. Defense, horrible. 1 for 8 from the field in 28 minutes, 9 points. He did have 6 assists to 2 turnovers. But, 1 for 8 is bad, and had some really bad transition moments. And I've talked about this on previous post-game shows, but there was a stretch there in the third quarter where he just put his head down and tried to drive through Lou Dort, okay? You don't drive through Lou Dort. It's not physically possible. It's Lou Dort, okay? Sometimes you got to know who's guarding you, right? But he's just had these stretches this year where his, like, all basketball IQ seems to go out the window, and it's brutal. It's brutal to watch. That third quarter was maybe the worst quarter I've ever seen from Anthony Simons. Now, he's obviously much better than he was like 3-4 years ago. But 3-4 years ago, at least he just kind of like sat off the ball, shot, catch, and shoot shots, and like gave some effort on defense. Like, he was getting lost off the ball defensively. There was a possession he didn't run back on defense. And just trying to force stuff, and I don't know, man. His decision making has been so much worse this year than it was last year. Like, he looks like he's regressed, and I don't know. Like, I think maybe it's a little bit more. I think maybe it's an aberration considering he's only played 6 games, but also I kind of wonder if he's just kind of mentally checked out, because we talked about it last offseason with his comments after the 2024 season, 2024 exit interviews, and there was some rumblings that maybe he didn't want to be in Portland, that, never really got out, but they were there, and he just seems not mentally checked in the same way that he was last year. And you look at him, you look at Grant, right? Like, I think Grant is completely okay with the trade, and I don't know what's wrong with Anthony, man. He does not look mentally locked in at all. His decision-making's been brutal. His shooting hasn't been there, and he's been a negative on the floor pretty consistently this year, but especially tonight he was brutal.
Yeah, someone in our group chat mentioned the same thing, and I've been thinking about this for about a week, and I haven't yet said it on the show, but when you start having the attitude of we either need to start winning or we need to like move on or trade me or whatever. And when you start thinking that way, you can't also be part of the problem for why you're not winning. Like you have to be better. You have to show why that statement applies if applicable. So to me, I don't know if he's like just pressing because of that or what, but he has not looked like the same player as he was last year. And he's in his mid-20s. Like, he shouldn't be regressing right now. So, like, I don't know what it is. And now he's probably hurt. I doubt he plays tomorrow night. So maybe we'll get to see what this team looks like without him tomorrow. This is a guy who, he has to flat out play better. And you can't be the reason your team is struggling to win games, and because it ruins any leverage you have, both in terms of value in a trade and then also like the reasoning behind maybe trading him doesn't make sense then either if he's like proving to be a winning type player just in a bad situation. It's almost like the opposite right now. He's like making them a non-winning team with his bad play. So he's definitely got to turn it around. I did like the 6 assists, and I thought one of his 2 turnovers was another. Like, it seems like this happens every game where he throws a pass to DA and DA just stands there and doesn't even go after the ball. It's like, what the heck, DA? But other than that, I did notice that time he didn't get back on defense. Luckily, OKC missed a wide open 3 on that possession, but still an inexcusable. And then in the second half, he had one as well. But he was complaining both times, I think, about a foul call. But yeah, you just got to be smarter with your drives. I did like the attempt to posterize Chet. I thought that was good, like, because a lot of his problems are he doesn't go up strong necessarily, but when he takes it to the rim, usually you're going to get a foul call or a dunk in that situation. So it was unfortunate that one didn't work out, but I liked the aggression and the decision on that one. But overall, you're absolutely correct. His decision making, his ability to run the team, all that kind of stuff has been pretty bad this year so far.
Yeah. The problem I have with him having that attitude, like, oh, we need to win or move me, he's never proven to be a winning player. He put up good numbers last season on a bad team. Okay? He has never contributed to a winning team. Now, a big part of that is, of course, situation. Yes, like, he's not going to carry this team to anything. And last year he wasn't going to carry that team to anything. But he's never really proven to be a guy that's, like, going to contribute defensively. Like, he is a scorer first. He averaged 5.5 assists per game last year, but his decision-making is not that of somebody, at least just maybe I'm a little bit biased off this year with this, but his decision-making does not look like this is decision-making you want from a point guard. He's a combo guard, right? And he can handle some ball-handling duties, but that's why I always liked him in Orlando, right? Because you got Banchero, who's a bit of a point forward. Franz Wagner can handle the ball some. Like, you do not really want him as your primary ball handler. You just don't. His decision-making is not good enough. And also, he's struggling to create separation right now. Like I don't know what it is. He got up on that Chet posterization attempt because he had a straight line drive. Like he had a lane. When he's trying to create shots, he's not creating separation in the same way he created last year. And that's a little bit worrisome to me. And when you look at Anthony Simons, in the best case scenario, is somebody that's a really good scorer, but not because he creates easy shots for himself and gets to the line. It's because he hits insanely difficult shots. That applies to some of his jumpers. That applies to lay-ins, right? Like he has some really crafty, nice lay-ins, but there's some it's right foot, right hand hook shot type stuff. It's not like he's beating somebody to the backboard consistently. And just how good of a player can you be on that sort of shot diet? Because you look at him and compare him to SGA, who, of course, is a top 10 player in the league. And SGA just creates easy looks for himself where it doesn't even seem like he's trying. Whereas Ant, it seems like he's trying and he's not creating space. And he's just struggling. So I don't know, man. Like I've been kind of in the middle on the Anthony Simons stuff where I've defended him against his haters because he has too many out there. Unfortunately, those haters are probably loving this. But I also have pumped the brakes on him in terms of, having a bunch of confidence in him taking that step to stardom. And that shot diet, that stuff is part of the reason why the decision-making as a primary guy, I just don't think is at a high enough level, and I don't think he creates easy enough shots for himself.
Yeah, well, at this point, it's hard to disagree with that. But one quick distinction: to be clear, he didn't want necessarily say, "Oh, I'm a winning player. I want to go somewhere where I can win."
I didn't say you said that.
No, I'm just trying to make it clear what the distinction was.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be in a situation where the team was trying to lose on purpose and he'd have to sit the last 20 games of the season with some bullcrap injury and stuff like that. He wants to play and have a chance to make the playoffs or win or prove something or just not be held back in terms of being able to try and win.
So his new plan, in order to stop that from happening, is to prove to them that he can help them lose?
Yes, exactly. Like I said, you can't have that mindset and then play the way you play. But just it's a little different than being like, oh, I'm too good for this situation. That's not necessarily what his mindset was. He just didn't want to go through another season where around the All-Star break, they're like, hey, you have a bum ankle, right? You're not going to be allowed to finish the season. That kind of stuff. So
for me, though, it's just help take them to the next level. And this year, it's maybe Ant can take a step. And listen, I'm not going to speculate as to did he put in the right work or enough work this offseason? Because, we're not in the gym with him. So I'm never going to sit here and call out somebody's work ethic while having zero clue as to the work they put in this past offseason. But he just looks worse. He just blatantly looks much worse. And he's too young to look this much worse. And it's like when a rookie starts to figure it out or a young player starts to figure it out and they say the game's slowing down for them. For it, it's like the game is speeding back up. Mm-hmm. And it's just quite baffling to me, man.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last year. He's not a number one on a good team. So if he's your third option on offense, that's probably a really good team. Maybe, you can question the defense and stuff, but yeah, offensively, if he's a third option, that's a good team. But yeah, he's struggling to know how to carry a team, and tonight was the first time. The broadcast actually did a really good job of they had a camera angle that showed Chauncey a lot,
Yeah.
and you could tell he was visibly frustrated with Simons tonight. And so I think the whole team is a little frustrated at the way he's playing. So hopefully, I mean, it's only been 5 games. Hopefully, he can pick it up here at some point. Now he a chance to might have a chance to sit and watch for a while. If his forearm isn't in good shape, maybe they keep him out for a little bit, just precautionary. But
Yeah, I mean, he didn't go to the locker room, and
yeah,
did he come back in this game after that? That was in the
no,
fourth
he
quarter,
never
so
came in.
no, he
Yeah,
never came in. But you know what's funny about like you saying, oh, Chauncey was visibly frustrated with him, is in let's see here, in the third quarter he subbed out with 4:47 left. And he came back in the fourth quarter with 11:34 left. So he sat barely more than 5 minutes with how bad he was playing. And Chauncey being frustrated with him. And it's still, okay, we're gonna only give him a 5-minute break. I guess it's just subbing him back early because he's your only chance of shooting you back into a game. And if he does, like, okay, you keep playing him and you play him a lot of minutes. And then if he doesn't, you sit him and you get him his rest. I don't know. It was just a little strange to me. Chauncey's rotations seem so freaking robotic to me. And it drives me crazy. Chauncey's coaching seems so robotic to me. Like, he has no sense for the flow of a game and what should be done.
well, he does. He just doesn't have like he
Does
just
he?
gets frustrated. Well, like from him being a player, I'm saying he understands the game and what needs to happen. It's just he just doesn't
He doesn't know
know.
it schematically.
Right.
He
Like,
knows he knows what plays to make as a point guard, as a player. As a coach, tactically, schematically, like.
right. And you had guys like
But even then, sorry. Even then, right? Like, as a point guard, I don't think he would dribble the ball down the court like 5 straight times and try and throw an entry pass from the top of the key to DA.
yeah.
But he lets it happen when he's coach.
But see, here's the thing. If he had like Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace and some of those players he played with, I mean, they're not getting punked like that by a guard either. Like
Yeah,
Ben
still
Wallace
though, I
wasn't
feel
even.
like he goes and creates an angle.
No, I know, but Ben Wallace isn't like. I mean, he wasn't great offensively, but he would punish a guard trying to guard him down there. Like he would like physically outmaneuver him. Aiden just kind of stands there and gets pushed around and gets
But like,
flat-footed and
that's part of you got to know your players, man. Like
right. I know.
you know what I
I'm
mean?
not
Like you,
excusing
yeah,
coaching.
no, I know. I'm just this is what it is. You got to know that Aiton is like he's gonna get. You got to create better post-up opportunities and better entry passes and better angles for him because he's not just going to completely bully a dude off the ball if you try and throw it straight down the court. Like.
Yeah.
That's your center. You've had him for over a year now. You got to know that, and you got to know how you can get him the ball, but you have no clue because you just try and do this dumb stuff over and over and over again, and you see him getting, like, not sealing well, but that's a tough position to seal in general, but you keep doing it. I mean, we've seen it earlier this season. So that's just part of, like, tactically garbage. Apparently he doesn't know his own player well enough to know that, like, oh yeah, he's gonna get fought over in that situation by freaking guards. I mean, it's just there's just so much wrong with the coaching of this team, and it drives me freaking crazy.
Well, I think see this is what it is. He gets frustrated with them, but he doesn't know how to fix it. You know what I mean? And that's
What? Flip the angle.
I know.
It's so
that's what I'm
simple.
saying. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like he's just like, oh, they're not doing what I would do.
You can't
And he
tell
gets
him
mad,
to, like,
but
take
then-
it to
but then he
free throw
doesn't-
line extended.
I know he doesn't know how to teach. Like, he doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense why he's so bad.
Well, here's the other thing. it just reeks of a team that's unprepared for those situations too. Like, you know, like you have to know some teams like the Thunder, especially without Hardenstein right now, they're going to go small at times. You knew Ujman Jang was their backup center. And, oh, we haven't mentioned this. Tori, it happened tonight. Sorry to get off on a tangent.
What did?
The Oklahoma City Thunder played a player in an NBA game. I had never heard of this guy.
Oh, Leon's? You never heard of Leon's before?
No, I had never
Really?
heard of. No, he played 5 minutes in the preseason, dude. Like,
Yeah, but he was a draft prospect last year.
he played at like Mineral Area College.
Mineral Area College. Hey, that's hey. I barely knew who he was. It took me a second to be like, wait, who? And I was like, oh yeah.
Like-
Malevy is like, it's Malevy
Usually-
Leons.
Usually, you see someone like that, you look him up, and you're like, oh, he played at like Syracuse or something.
We played on
And,
like Belmont
oh,
or something.
he played at Bradley. Yeah.
Bradley, Belmont, Bradley, same thing.
But yeah, it's like, so usually you're like, oh, yeah, it vaguely sounds familiar. It's like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah. If
Thunder just rolling him. I swear they're trolling there.
If you guys don't know us, like I'm at the point where I could probably name the college that 90% of NBA players went to. You know what I mean? Like I know all players, and I can name the college, and that 90% of them went to. I could name the position for probably all of them, right? Like could estimate age, that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's impressive because Eric's the same way. So the fact that you hadn't heard of him, man. I mean, he was one of those guys. Preseason, there's guys like that, but then I try and pay attention to, oh, this dude I haven't heard of is actually looking decent for the Grizzlies. This Kawamu, I don't know how to say it. I don't even remember his last name, but I know him. That short point guard throwing all those dives. I know he was before preseason, but I try.
Had a big game yesterday.
I try and be ready for the regular season. So,
but I mean, just like even if you watched all Thunder's preseason games, you wouldn't even know who this guy was because he barely played in the preseason.
Yeah. Final thing, Eric, for like the conversation about Ant and about Grant, like. If Ant continues to play like this, maybe they should have already traded him by now. Of course, that's hindsight, but like he's in front of Scoot. They want to go with the starting lineup. So what, you're going to have Scoot and Sharp off the bench? Like, I feel like Ant needs to take another step in order to beat out Sharp and Scoot long-term for this team, with Scoot looking better this year. Like, it was wild to me. In the third quarter, it was like, please sub out Simons and sub in Scoot so we can calm this game down. I never thought this season I would think that at any point in time. That's crazy to me, because normally last year it was like, get Scoot out. Like he's a wreck. This game is a mess now because of him. And it was like, dude, we need a real point guard in the game is what I was feeling like in this game. And it's just wild to me. So, I don't know. And with Grant, like, his style of play does not fit what the Blazers are trying to establish in terms of an identity. And at one point, it's like, okay, these guys are holding us back from consistently playing the way we want to play and developing our young players into the style of basketball we're trying to establish. Especially when it's like Ryan Rupert keeps you in a game. Tamani Kamara is playing great. And then your starters, third quarter, just throw it away. Which has happened more than once this season. Where the starters are throwing the game away and the bench is actually playing better. With young guys. That 19, 20-year-olds, like, you know, or I guess it's just 20-year-olds, because Klingen's 20, Repair's 20. So I'm frustrated with the starters. I'm frustrated with Grant and Simons. Like, at some point, it's are they contributing to the identity you're trying to build and the young players you're trying to develop? If not, what's the point?
Yeah. I still wonder, especially with Anthony, if he had, because I think he's more of a pick and roll point guard, and I still think the Blazers don't really have the best pick and roll players. on the match for him in the pick and roll. So I think that's contributing a little bit to some of his struggles. Because like you mentioned, he's not getting that separation
Yeah.
on regular drives. So I wonder how much that's affecting him.
But
But
I just think
tonight,
that's also kind of a knock on him if he like
I mean,
you put any star hero with like this lineup, they still look like a star. They don't look that bad.
no, I know, but like if we're talking about just him maximizing it, there's a lot of players who thrive more in the pick and roll than ISO
Yeah,
situation.
I just think he like if you have a player that you view that highly as like a guy that's going to start and be a big part of your offense, he should not be that dependent upon who's around him.
I'm not saying it's dependent. I'm just saying I would like to see what it looks like if he had a better pick and roll partner. And tonight they did a they did something different. They had Denny as the screener at the beginning of the game, and Denny had a couple of rough possessions at the beginning, but I kind of liked the idea of Denny catching the ball in that short roll, um, and he was attacking at least, getting into the paint and stuff like that. So maybe that's a wrinkle they can explore. They went away from it in the second half because they were trying to force feed Aiton. But yeah, I did think at the beginning of this game, Anthony did a good job of just letting, kind of like what Dame used to do, is just kind of letting his teammates uh, get involved and wasn't trying to force too much.
Yeah, yeah. I go back to like the pick and roll thing, and it's like Scoot's been scoring off DA pick and rolls all year, and he's been feeding DA as well. We saw last game Kamara and Avdia had lobs to DA in the pick and roll. It's like I I don't know, man.
Well, Scoot doesn't get double teamed off pick and roll. Anthony gets double teamed almost every pick and roll, and then he has
Is
to
he
throw
still
to
this
eight.
year? You think?
Yeah, he's still getting doubled off pick and roll.
Because it seems like even when he's not, he's still struggling.
Well, he just has to pass. So Aiton has to come out to the free throw line, and so every time the pass to Aiton's more around the free throw line than it is like Ant's not able to get downhill when he's got two defenders on him, so he has to throw it. That's why I like running it with Denny better because Denny can attack the 4-on-3 advantage, whereas Aiton, like the first, he bricks his first two mid-range shots in this game, and like, I mean, you can't get him better shots than that, like
Yeah, I mean
that's
those.
not necessarily Ant's fault.
Yeah, those plays aren't the plays I necessarily have a problem with. I. It's tough because if he takes a step back from last year, he's going to have zero trade value, and then what do you do with them? Like, is I don't know if that happens. Is there I've never entertained this scenario, and I'm not seriously entertaining it right now. But if Ant continues to struggle and Scoot continues to look good and improve and Sharp has the breakout people are hoping for, is Ant your third guard? Is there any scenario in the future where Ant could be the third guard with these two guards and the Blazers hang on to him because they can't get anything for him?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to see how Ant responds to that. I mean, as long as he understands that it's his own play that doomed that, and accepts that role, I don't see why it couldn't work. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if Scoot is better than him, you've got to eventually make a tough decision like that.
Yeah, I mean,
We also don't know. We have no idea what Sharp's gonna be
yeah,
like
we
when it
don't
comes
either.
back.
Yeah, we don't. But I mean, it's like I don't know. The longer this continues, the more I just wish we were starting Scoot instead of Ant. Right? It's like Scoot is progressing the right way. Ant isn't. Listen, 6-game sample size. All right, keep that in mind. Right? But if this continues, you got two guys going the opposite direction, and one is 20, and you drafted third overall, and has improved a ton, and is better than Ant looked when Ant was 20. So wouldn't you want to put all your eggs in that basket at some point if this continues? I don't know how long this needs to continue to get to that point, but just what I'm thinking about with this, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Just what I'm thinking about. Our player of the game is Tamani Kamara. Let's talk about Ryan Repair first, Eric. Second straight game, he's come in and had a serious impact. By the way, we will take phone calls in about 10 minutes or so after we're done talking about Repair and Kamara. We'll take your calls in our Discord. Join our Discord if you want to call in, and click on the call in on the left. All right? That's how you can call into the show. Repair, Eric. He had 3 threes in the first half. He brought this team back into the game after bringing them back into the game last game as well. He's been getting spot minutes but has looked good and is only 20 years old as a raw defensive prospect. But he's having an impact offensively. He finishes the game 4 for 7 from 3, 5 for 9 from the field, 14 points, couple boards, and a steal and a block. No turnovers. Yeah, he needs to regularly play. I can't wait until they bring back Thibault and Repair gets DNP coaches' decisions because we got to play Matisse freaking Thibault. What are your thoughts on Repair, though? I mean, he's looked good a couple games in a row, and tonight, his shot looked really good. You know, I was worried about last year being an aberration and his shooting struggles to start the year, but 4 for 7 from 3.
Tori, I saw Nicholas Batum tonight. I know that comparison has been made, but the way he shoots his threes, that one little finger roll shot he had in traffic in the lane, this guy, he needs minutes, man. Look at what he's doing. Every opportunity he gets, he's showing a little something of what he can do. And yeah, he has some times where he gets completely out of place on defense and stuff like that. But I think those are just things you have to live with as he learns the game and learns how to use his body and his athleticism to play defense. And this guy's having an impact on the game. He's grabbing rebounds and dribbling it up the floor and making plays for others as well. Yeah, dude, like I think this guy is deserving a rotational spot and more minutes right now. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I was so mad when he got taken out of this game because, I mean, it ended up working out for the Blazers. So I guess the naysayers will say, well, the Blazers came back and took the lead after that. But I felt like he should have been rewarded for the way he was playing. And instead, I think it sends a bad message when you take someone out that's playing well.
Especially a young player when you're in the middle of a rebuild. Like, see if he can build off of it, right? He brought you back in the game. He's helping the team. Like, there's no reason for him to come out of the game. Absolutely no reason. Shoot, if he started the third quarter instead of Grant or Simons, we probably would have been better too. You know? Like, that's what's crazy about it. And he's obviously not a better player than those guys right now, not even close. But it's like, you got to reward young players when they play well in a rebuild. Like, you got to, if vets are giving poor effort, you can't just sit there and not hold that accountable. Because young players see that. And that's just where there's just issues with accountability and rotations and Chauncey's overall roboticness. But, yeah, I mean, he's looked good. And it's good that you saw Nicholas Batum today. Because last game we saw Nicholas Batum, but, of course, he was going against Batum, who is, I think, a bit of a mentor for him. You know, they're both Frenchmen. But, yeah, I see it too. He's smooth, man, super long arms, which allows him to finish because he's not the most explosive guy. And I just imagine if his handle continues to improve and he can pass a little bit, shoot, defend. I mean, that's a good role player off a bench, hopefully, one day. And he was looked at as a first-round type of prospect in his draft that slipped to the second. Some people even had him as like a top 15 to 20 prospect. And there's a reason for that. I mean, he should be a really well-rounded role player. If he's doing this at 20, I mean, what is he going to be when he's 25? He was not supposed to be playing minutes. He was like maybe 3 years away from being able to have positive NBA minutes, in my opinion. Like, he was a long-term project when you drafted him. So the fact that at the start of year 2, he's already had multiple games where he's had a positive impact, against, the Thunder in this game, I mean, that's a huge plus.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the way he plays, and at times last year when he got minutes, he kind of made some bad decisions to drive into traffic and stuff like that, and I think he's cutting down on that. He's so confident with that shot. He's not hesitating or whatever. Like Tamani, who we'll talk about in a second, even though he's looked a lot better shooting that three, he's hesitated a few times, even tonight. On one he made, he ended up shooting anyway. But Rupert's just catching it and shooting it when he's open, and he looks really confident, and it's showing, and his form looks like it's improving. And yeah, I mean, we're a little worried. He got off to that hot shooting start in the G League last year, and then it kind of, dipped as the season went on. So you're like, oh, was it just a lucky stretch or whatever? I don't know, man. It looks good. I don't think it's like gonna be a situation where we're worried about him shooting 30% from three or anything.
Yeah, he has a high set point too, like with his long arms, man. Like
That's what it reminded me of it too.
yeah, he has a very high set point, and he hit some somewhat contested threes in this game, which was a huge plus. So I don't know what's going to happen long term in terms of his minutes, but he definitely needs to play over Jabari Walker.
Well, he's taking his rotation spot, obviously.
Yeah, he definitely needs to play over Jabari Walker. He needs to play over Matisse Thybulle. If Matisse Thybulle comes back and they stop playing Rupert just to play Matisse Thybulle, what are they accomplishing?
Yeah, I mean, the only argument you could make is showing that Thybulle is healthy for trade value, I guess, but that shouldn't be the most important thing right now.
Yeah.
But we had this argument last year, right?
Yeah. Well, the other argument is... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, that was in a season we won 21 games, and people were arguing with us that we should be playing Thybulle because he's an all-defensive player over him when this dude just needs to play. And so now that Rupert is showing improvement and looks nice, like, I think there's even less argument on this team that you should play Thybulle over him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean that's a thing people will say is Thybulle's a better player, but the thing is like Rupert in the limited time he's gotten has looked good. So if you bench him, you're not even giving him a chance to prove he's as good as Thybulle because you're not giving him the opportunity. It's not like
know what they're doing though, Tori.
Well, I mean, who's saying that right now? Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
True.
It's funny how like people like hate on Chauncey, but in the same vein say, well, he's the coach. You gotta trust the coach. Whatever. I don't know. I mean, there just ain't no way. It will only take me one game for me to rant on this post-game show about Thybulle playing ahead of Rupert. Okay. The thing is last year when we lost 61 games, we had freaking Justin Minaya playing ahead of him. And people are like, oh, it's only in like 20 minutes. Doesn't matter. Like, it's not going to change anything. It's more so the principle of it for me.
Yeah.
You're in a rebuild. It's crazy how much I feel like I have to say that because sometimes it's just like this organization doesn't seem to know. But, is what it is. Rupert played great today. Shout out to him. And then our player of the game, Eric, Tamani Kamara. He and Rupert both had 3 threes in the first half. Which is great to see. Tamani got it done defensively, 2 steals, 4 for 7 from the field, which was, like his drives and finishes look nice, man. They're just impressive. He has some impressive moments as a slasher, but the 3-point shot looks legitimate. What is he shooting on the year so far? Because
like 50%, isn't it?
It might be above 50% right now. He was 50% going into this game, so he's shooting above 50% from 3. He's shooting worse from 2, but above 50% from 3. He had a beautiful, like, defensive play. He stole a pass and then had a dime to Denny Avdia in transition for a layup. Like, I love when you make a good defensive play, especially when you don't gamble to get it, right? You just play solid defense, come up with a steal, and then you go the other way and make a nice pass and feed somebody else. Like, that uplifts the team. Those are winning plays, man. Those are winning plays, and Tamani won the vote, barely over Rupert for our player of the game. And he has a game against his old team coming up tomorrow, so hopefully he can continue it. His old team, he never played an actual NBA game for him outside of Summer League. But he's looked really good, man, and he's definitely a key part of this team. And, he's like one of those guys you want to start because of the things he does defensively and then his offensive game coming around. If he can be like a 6th, 7th man off the bench in the future for the Blazers, they probably have it made. Like, if Denny can play like he did last year and you get lucky in the draft and get an Ace Bailey Cooper flag and you bring Tamani Kamara off the bench, I don't think that's a bad thing going forward because you basically have a starting caliber player off the bench. And if you look at some of the best teams in the league, they have starting caliber players off the bench. So, it's you definitely have a future part of your rotation, no matter what. And he might be a really, really good bench player that would start for half the teams in the league, maybe more. That might be his future. Or maybe he just keeps progressing and he's like a guy that you have to play 35 minutes a game and have to start, like a Herb Jones. I mean, that's kind of the trajectory I feel like he's on, is like our Herb Jones. And from a guy who liked Herb Jones coming out of that draft and wanted Herb Jones, it's nice to kind of have a Herb Jones on our team because that's Tamani, man. He's that type of role player. So absolutely love what he's been doing. I love his progression this year. I love how much his game has grown. Like he's one of those guys that you can tell works hard. I mean, he came in this year, his handle looking sharper, his playmaking has improved the past year, and his shot has improved a ton. And that just, you can tell he put in work in this, on those areas and the right work, because you don't just improve as much as he's improved without putting in some serious work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing he still needs to improve on, I mean, obviously he needs to improve on everything, but like in terms of just overall something that he's struggling with is the fouls. And then he's not going to be able to ask the coaches to challenge anymore after tonight when he asked them to challenge, and they did, and it was unsuccessful. So that's how that works, I think, is you get one or two where you can tell the coach that, but once you fail on that, you lose that opportunity. But yeah, so he's got the toughest defensive matchup to start games. So obviously you're going to get some fouls, but just try not to pick up the cheap ones like he did on that SGA 3. But yeah, other than that, man, he's been a pleasure to watch. And between him and Rupert, and you throw Denny in there, like that wing rotation we have is nice, man. And that's another reason why it's, I think, standing out so much watching a guy like Jeremy Grant on this team and just being like, man, what do we even need that guy for, Yep,
absolutely. So shout out to Tamani, our player of the game. We're going to take calls now, so you can join our call-in on Discord. Right now we got nobody in there.
We did have a couple of donations.
I was going to take the donations while I said that. Shout out to Alex Wolf, $5 donation, says, we're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium. Cavs. Is that a quote? I don't understand the quote, Eric.
Well, it's from a movie, but
of course, I don't understand the quote.
He's just saying the Cavs are undefeated and they won again tonight. He's saying the Cavs have a win streak, is basically.
Cavs have looked phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Alex Wolf for the $5 donation. Then Mono Po Man. It's been a minute since we've had a donation from him. Love to see it. Says, give Scoot more minutes in a starting role. Yeah, Scoot should play more minutes. 25 minutes. 3 for 8. 1 for 4 from 3. 5 assists with only 2 turnovers. Like, the assist-to-turnover ratio looks really good for Scoot right now. This was one of those games where, like, it's not an efficient night on paper, but, like, if this is his low-efficiency game, then that's a great thing compared to last year, right? Like, there was times where I was hoping he'd shoot 3 for 8 from the field last season. So, it definitely wasn't one of his best games this season, but it was good enough. And he's doing a really good job controlling the game and in a way that doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. So I think that's a big one there. Thank you for the donation. So yeah, now we'll take calls. I mean, honestly, first person to join this call in Discord will be able to hop up on the stream. So
do you want to maybe explain how to do that? Maybe
yeah. So I will, if you join our Discord, let me Let me share my screen.
Bruh.
Arrow, why are you talking? Arrow, why are you? Do you want to call in Arrow? Because we never even approved Arrow, but Arrow just is. Please tell me you haven't been drinking either, because Arrow is somebody that likes to enjoy.
Oh, I hope he has been.
Too. And it's a Friday night. I mean, maybe depends on the number, because at some point you get diminishing returns. But I'm just going to share my screen and show you guys how to call in case you're confused. Okay, so you're going to see my stream set up for a second, but if you want to call in, simply go into our Discord and then click on the call in here on the left. And you click into that and you'll be brought into our call in, and then we'll send you an invite and you'll have an opportunity to accept it, and then you'll be live on the mic. We just ask that you please do not curse. Please keep it clean and just give us your thoughts on the Blazers so far this season. I wanted to do these every 6 to 8 games or so, just because we can talk about, of course, this game, but also just the first 6 games of the season, and that's what this is going to be. So, Arrow, let me know if you're requesting to call in. Did he? I think he just allowed him. Did he just allow himself in here, Eric, or did you invite him?
I did not touch anything.
Yeah. So with his moderator powers, he opted in. I'm always down to talk to Arrow. So Arrow, let me know. But the first guy we're going to talk to, we're going to send an invite to Kyle Wilson.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, what's going on, man? What do you got for
Kyle?
us?
Yeah, so not much, guys, not much. Yeah, obviously a rough game today. This is a tanking year, so I had to set my expectations very, very low at the start of the year. Just okay, let's not try to freak out when we are losing games. It's definitely been a mental adjustment. Some of the things I've seen have been okay. Other things are, not so good. Obviously, this is a team that is on the, it's very firmly in the rebuilding stage. I guess the thing that I'm confused on, and I know you guys have harped on this before, is we're obviously in a rebuild, but we don't seem to be making moves that correlate to that. I've yet to understand a reason why guys like Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, I have no clue why they're still here. And one of the things that I've been irritated with is, we draft Klingon at 7th overall, something along those lines, and then we only play him 10 minutes a night. And I understand part of it is conditioning. He is a big man. He has to get his body up to NBA level. But at the same time, let's go. We drafted this guy in the top 10 for a reason. Let's at least put him on the floor. And, if we're wanting to get, Time Lord back on the court at any point to get his draft value up, that's only going to cut into his minutes even more. So it's just concerning that, it doesn't seem like this organization has a firm plan. It feels like they wanted to rebuild, but they didn't want to do all of the steps necessary and, take everything out. They wanted to leave some guys they could leave on the ticket sales to get people to keep coming. And you just can't operate that way. If you're going to rebuild, you have to, tear it down to the studs. You have to do all of these things that aren't necessarily what you want to do, but you kind of have to do. That's the way the NBA works.
Yeah. And,
we keep Chauncey for some reason, which I still don't understand because he doesn't want to be here. It doesn't feel like
he's going to be gone probably end of this season. I mean, I do wonder what the ownership group front office thinks about some things that he's done coaching wise. They're going to talk a nice game, but the problem is if you get rid of Chauncey now, it's who are you going to replace him with, right? And also you're on the hook, and it's, I don't know, if he's really going to screw up developmental stuff, then yeah, you got to replace him. But I'm not sure he's that bad of a developmental coach, and I think that's kind of how the Blazers see it. But as far as minutes and stuff with this rebuild, it's they got lucky in a way with the injuries that they were dealing with Robert Williams and Matisse Thybulle, because if those two guys were healthy, you wouldn't see Rupert, you wouldn't see Donovan Clingan probably in some games. So what happens when those guys come back? It's going to be very tough for Chauncey, and he's probably going to get some instruction from the front office, or maybe.
Oh, he said he doesn't get instructions.
Of course he'll say that, but I mean, if you're a front office and you're going to like conduct this long-term rebuild, I think you gotta have some communication with the coach. Like, okay, here's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's who we think we should play. Here's who we're trying to showcase for a trade, etc. So I wouldn't be surprised if they drag out the injuries for Thybulle and Robert Williams, but it's just like with Sharp, Rob Will, Thybulle out, it does make it easier to actually give Rupert the chance to do what he did tonight. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they handle a potentially healthy team.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do with that. And I mean, for Chauncey, I mean, this year is basically his audition for the rest of the league, because I think everybody knows that he's kind of a lame duck coach at this point. I mean, there's really nothing he can do to keep his job here, which is why I've always questioned why you even bothered keeping him beyond just obviously they don't want to pay him to leave.
I mean, that's it.
But I mean,
there,
he strikes. Yeah.
I mean, they just don't. They don't. He's got one more year under contract. It's a cheap coach, and they can just let him play it out. I think that's simply what it is. They just don't want to fire him early and pay two coaches at once. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it, but Chauncey just kind of strikes me as kind of like I'm not sure if you remember this guy, but Jack Pardee, who was the old coach of the now the Commanders. They used to be the Redskins, and he was a former player who turned coach, and they had a lot of the same problems that the Blazers have had. Obviously, a different sport, but you had veterans that seemed to regress really badly under him because he was a player and he had a certain way of doing things that players could relate to, but at the same time he didn't know how to convey that into coaching. He couldn't get his players to buy into his system. And so for veterans, they were able to kind of take it easy and take plays off. And then for young guys, they kind of became almost entitled in a sense because they didn't know any better. They didn't have the correct coaching. So that's the thing that concerns me with Chauncey, is whether or not, if he's having that same problem of being a former player who's not, translating the player's mentality into coaching. How is that going to impact our young guys when they do get a coach? Are they going to be able to stay coachable and improve, or are they going to have this kind of, well, Chauncey did, let us do this,
Yep. I fully get your concerns, man. I'll let Eric speak, but we got other callers, so appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, my thing is, you can develop players. Maybe Chauncey's doing a good job of that. I think you could argue either way. I don't mind either side of that discussion. But is it a case where you're missing out by not developing these players in a system they're going to be in for a while? Perfect example is the Thunder with Mark Daigneault tonight.
Yeah.
They give him some time with a rebuilding team. He grows as a coach with the team, and now is in a position where they've been playing those schemes, understand what is expected of them, and all that for years, and are now showing that on the court. And obviously they have talent too, which helps immensely. But does that play into it as well? The fact that they have kept a system, and it's a good system with good schemes and stuff like that.
Yep. We're going to go to Aeromancer, then we'll go to Leighton, and then we'll go to Aeromancer, then we'll go to Hugh Morris, and then we'll go to Leighton. Okay, that is the order we got for this call. And Aero does want to call in. And Eric allowed himself into, basically we have to give you permission in order to have you join the call. But Aero's a moderator, so he just said, screw it, I'm joining. So, very bold move, but I respect it. Aero, what's going on, man? Are you, how many drinks deep are you on a Friday night? Or are you stone cold sober?
No, I am stone cold sober. Unfortunately, this weekend I'm staying sober. had an eye injury, so I don't really want to risk anything.
You
But
told me that. How do you get an eye injury? What were you
no,
looking at?
I was I was doing a martial arts drill, and basically the drill is you try to tap each other's shoulders, and you're in a stance, you're trying to like move around. And I just ducked at the wrong time. I got stuck directly in the eye. I think it's called a corneal abrasion, is what I have. But I'll be fine. I'm fine. Taking it easy. But no, I was just gonna ask kind of a fun question for you guys and also for chat. Um, if you have any good ideas for a nickname for Ryan Rupert, I feel like he's come into his own. He's gotten to the point where that's a point of conversation that we need to figure out.
That's a great question. I don't know if your mic cut out there mid-sentence, but that's a great question. Nickname for Repair Chat. Give it your best shot. The first one, Arrow, I don't know if you're going to be disappointed in this one or not. Rudy Poo. Do you approve?
No, I feel like we can do better than that.
Yeah, I agree.
That's Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. Rudy Poo is a great nickname for Rudy Gobert. Also, wouldn't it be Rupee Poo? Which just sounds even worse.
Yeah. I had a couple.
I mean, is Roops a nickname, or is it too close? Is it just, I don't know. Does that count?
I like
Roops?
Roops. It's just too close. It's like Ant for Anthony. It's like, yeah, I get it. It's kind of a little too close to the source material. But I had a couple. I had Ryan Hooper, like his name is Rupert instead of it's a Hooper. I had Raygun, and then
Like the
we had some.
dancer? The break dancer?
Yeah. Maybe. What's another good one here? Kevin in RGC said the Baguette Bandit.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know about that one, but yeah, we got I don't know, man. I don't know. What was the first one you said?
Ryan Hooper.
Hooper. I don't know. Chat, do you like Ryan Hooper?
We got to keep working on other ones.
Yeah.
I think that one's okay, but we can do better.
I think we could do better. We're going to give chat some time. Tomorrow night, chat, you better have a good nickname for Ryan Hooper. Did I say Hooper? Now I don't even know. I might
It's
accidentally
sticking.
start calling him Ryan Hooper. It does roll off the tongue. So we'll see if chat can come up with something better.
I'm
Arrow,
looking up.
you're looking up what, Eric?
I'm looking up types of pears. We have the Anjou, the Bartletts. I don't know. What about Anjou? It's kind of like a lot of people.
What about
wouldn't
like
get
a
it, but
French? Yeah.
instead of pear? I don't know. I'm reaching here.
Is there a French word that is close to Rupert or Ryan that could actually make sense in terms of its meaning? I don't know. We're getting
Somebody in chat
advanced with
said the
this.
repairman. I like the repairman. That's pretty good.
The Ruperman.
Yeah.
Because he fixes our games when our starters screw them up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been lately.
There you go. Anything else you got for us?
No, I mean, obviously, I think other people are gonna have similar thoughts about the issues with Chauncey and
Yeah.
the struggles of our vets, but I wanted to lighten up the conversation, give everybody a chance to have a good time and kind of react to a player who I think has been a bright spot for a lot of us. So yeah, that's a bit it for me.
Arrow, you know what?
but
You're a
good to
good
talk.
time, man. You're a good time. Thanks for calling in, bro. I saw somebody in chat saying, "Who is this guy?" This is Arrowmancer, our mod. He's a legend. Okay, respect.
What?
Put some respect on his name.
I don't know if I'm going to pronounce
Yeah.
this right, but Poyer is French for pear.
Poyer. We're
Ryan
learning
Poyer.
French today. We're learning French. My mom knows some French, so maybe I could ask her what a good nickname is. I don't know. She'd probably think I'm weird for that, though. Anyway, thank you.
Pear bear?
Repair Bear.
The pear bear.
Crazy. It's
Hold on.
crazy. Alrighty. Next up for our call in, we got Gabe trying to get in here. Okay, Gabe, we got a couple people in front of you. Gabe is probably going to break our no cursing rule, but hopefully we can make it to Gabe before we break that rule. Next up, we got Hugh Morris, very active in our Discord. What's going on, man?
What's up, Hugh?
You got a. There you go. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, I called in because Elizabeth Allen and Gar Ben thinks I'm a troll because of my take.
What's your name in chat?
I'm not a troll. Hugh Morris.
Oh, your name is Hugh Morris in chat. Okay. Why do they think you're a troll?
On YouTube, I'm Desmond Bell.
Oh, okay.
That's my real
What's
name.
up, Desmond?
Got you. What's up, man?
They think I'm a troll because I say takes like I believe that the Blazers are a top 4 team in the West, where everybody thinks that we're gonna tank. But I truly believe we have the personnel to be that good. Maybe not coaching wise after what I saw tonight. I do have a question regarding the third quarter though. If Damian Lillard was out there with that group instead of Anthony Simons, do you think that we would have kept trying to force feed that ball to the post or running right into Lou Dort?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, Dame was our entire offense, right? So it would have definitely been some DA high pick and roll. The thing is Dame can stretch out defenses so much on the pick and roll. Like, that's probably how you get your big man involved against a small lineup is you run some high pick and roll, make him chase you out. Dame turns the corner, finds Ayton rolling to the rim, and then he has a head of steam instead of just standing around trying to force feed him the ball. So offense would have looked completely different with Dame in that situation.
I recently posted a trade that would send out Anthony Simons, Time Lord, and Thibault, and hopefully would get us back Dame if the Bucks were losing. Like I think they're going to be. I think they might end up doing 8 after the first 10.
So yeah, I mean, well, that does bring up a good question because I had a stream recently yesterday on our second channel. Eric wasn't there for it, but it was on it was about the rumblings of Giannis might want to ask out. And one of the weird things there is like, okay, what do they then do with Dame? Right? Dame probably doesn't have as much value in that scenario as he did when the Bucks traded for him. So where does he go? The thing is just the Blazers wouldn't want to take him back, bring him back, at least yet. And that bridge is so burnt. Like Dame wouldn't want to come back. So, it's just basically a no-go. It would be super sick to see him back, especially with some of these young guys. Like I feel like Denny and Kamara are the types of fours Dame needed for a while. But yeah, I mean, I miss Dame, but that ship has sailed for me.
I honestly think that if we brought him back without losing too many of our pieces that we already have, that we could solidify ourselves as top 4 in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the defense is not doing as well as it should. I mean, they gave up 137 points tonight. They're like 20th-ish, somewhere around 20th defensively. That's not good enough. Like in the shooting is a problem. And I just don't know, even with Dame, if they'd have enough firepower. He'd be back in a comfortable position. He'd probably look better than he does in Milwaukee because he'd try and take over games. In Milwaukee, he's not really trying to do that. It's kind of strange. But yeah, I mean, that's just where I'd rather have patience. And, if they're going to struggle this year, they're going to struggle and they're going to get a good draft pick. There is some good in the struggle if they do lose a bunch of games. There is some good in Chauncey coaching terribly if it ends up, with good lottery odds and we get lucky, right? I do wonder how good this team would be with a really good coach. Because I feel like offensively this team needs a good offensive coach because they don't have a star, but they try and play through Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant like they're star-level players, and they're just not. And I think that's a big issue right now with their offense, and that's why last year they were the worst offense in the league statistically, and then this year they're back down there again.
I agree with you. It might be a hot take for me, but I feel like Giannis is just not a team player, and that might be Dame's issue in Milwaukee. He's not Giannis doesn't play like a team. He's like a, a motor that just keeps going. He's really good as an individual, but not really as a team. I mean, he's went on record to say that he doesn't even watch film. There's so many things about him that just detracts from a team style of playing, and that's not what Dame is used to, and that's not a system that's built for him. Whereas that's what we have here. I do think that he would, as many people would like to say Dame is regressing, I think he would take strides forward if he were back.
I think for me, I'm sure, Desmond, that it's well documented how I felt about Dame and his trade request and all that kind of stuff. But and I do watch Bucks games and get frustrated with the way they use Dame at times. But I mean, to say that about Giannis, he's won a championship and Dame hasn't. So like, I don't think you can put that all on Giannis for the reason it's not working out.
I will say he's never had to try and coexist with as good of an offensive player as Dame. His number two was always Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, back when they were winning that championship, was a really good player, but he was no Dame offensively. So I do wonder, like, okay, if you put him next to other players of Dame's caliber, like, does it look better? Do they coexist better? Does he know how to coexist next to that high usage of a star, or at least as high of a usage as Dame should have? And, how does that look? Because he's never really played with someone that good offensively.
Yeah, but the thing is, for Dame, I mean, because I think this is why he wanted to go to Miami, because he would have been able to be that number one option. Jimmy's kind of reluctant to be that guy. He's fine being a secondary player. Bam isn't there, obviously. He's struggling to start the season. So, like, Dame wanted to go to a situation with a really good team, a better upgraded team than he was on, better coaching and all that stuff, but could still be the man. And instead, he goes to the Bucks, which is a really good team on paper, but it kind of lost that edge for Dame. Like, here he could just take over whenever he wanted to. Like, he had to a lot of times. But there it's like, oh, do I take over now, or does Giannis take over? I don't think that's necessarily Giannis' fault. It's just a situation when you have two really good players that both succeed with the ball in their hands. It's just kind of unfortunate that it hasn't worked out very well. And I mean, the season's still young. They could get it rolling again, but it really does not look good right now.
Thank you guys for having me on. One last thing. I do still think that we're a top 4 team if we can get some chemistry in that half court. So I feel like we're going to go to Phoenix and win. I don't think we're losing.
Hey, listen, I would love to beat Phoenix because I would love to beat Gabe and them. I would love to, because I'm going to hop on Suns Valley podcast tomorrow, and I would love to talk some trash. So
probably without Anthony, too. I got a question for you, Desmond.
Okay.
Do you want them to be a top 4 team already? Or, why are you trying to rush it? Like, don't you think it's something that could build up naturally? It doesn't go from being 21 wins to top 4 seed very often. Even OKC, had a year where they were a play-in team before they were a top seed. So, like, how do you go from winning 21 games to believing so firmly that they're a top 4 seed?
Because myself, I'm a stats guy. I never really watched games for the longest time. I just focus mostly on stats. Like, I've met and talked with Daryl Morey a couple of times, and me and his mind kind of works the same when we see stats and how they generate. So I was a big fan of us getting Denny before Dame left. I wanted us to get Denny because I felt like Denny would have been really good for Dame. As well as I felt like he would have complemented what Grant was doing with Dame. And so when I see those stats in my head and I see the personnel that we have on paper and how it plays in my head over a full game, I see our starters as being better than what they would be if they had the chemistry that they don't have right now. And I see our bench as being one of the strongest benches. Like, I know you guys talk about not having Scoot and Sharp come off the bench, but I feel like we should have them come off the bench for at least the rest of this season, if not for to add a duration to their development. The new CBA is going to punish teams that rush the development of their young players. Like, having Kamara start is great, but when it's time to give him that second contract, he's going to get a bigger contract than Sharp. He's going to get a bigger contract than Scoot is, because he's starting and they're not.
I don't think it will remain that way, though. I mean, Scoot still has 2.5 years until the end of his rookie deal, right? So it's tough. It's tough to necessarily like say that with any certainty. And teams will value what Scoot can do as a playmaker. Teams always are willing to pay for that, so that's going to raise Scoot's market, even if he's coming off the bench. It's like, I mean, right now he looks like one of the best sixth men of the year this year already. So what's he going to be in a couple years? So I think Scoot, Sharp, they're going to get paydays. But yeah, I just think the one thing we're missing from being a playoff team is that star. I mean, you look at the way SGA can carry that Thunder team. The Blazers just don't have that star. And if their roster was like third best player, fourth best player on down, and you had like a legitimate star and then somebody that was like a borderline all-star, that would be a really, really, really good team.
That's why he wants Dame.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So, I mean, Denny, I would have loved Denny the way he played last year with Washington. I would have loved that type of player for Dame. I think that would have done a lot for Dame. I just think like that's why they've been bottom of the league is in offense last year and then so far this year. They don't have that star. And even if you broaden Dame, like, you still need that second star, like that second guy. You need your Jalen Williams level scorer. Jalen Williams looked freaking phenomenal tonight, right? He was super impressive. So I just think they're missing that top end talent, and that's where hopefully Scoot can become that. Hopefully Sharp can become that. And
I think Denny looked good today too.
Yeah.
I think Denny looked good today too.
Yeah, he's just never going to be a 25-point per game scorer. He's going to be that like maybe third, fourth best player on a team that's like the perfect role player if he's shooting and playing well. We still have to see, like, hopefully he can shoot like he did last year, because it's been rough this year, and before last year he really struggled from three. So the jury is still kind of out on him in terms of how good of a shooter he is. But yeah.
He played point for us early this game, and I thought he looked it pretty well, passing the ball out and driving to the hole, as well as him setting screens. I thought that was a good direction for the team.
Yeah.
I don't know why he stopped.
Yeah, I mean, that's his role. That's his role. So that's why I would have liked him with Dame. Dame getting trapped, being able to have that as an outlet would have been really good. But appreciate you, man. I appreciate you calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Desmond. Have a good night.
All right, we got Leighton up next, and then we'll go to Gabe. Did you say uh-oh for Gabe?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going well.
How do you
This
pronounce
is
your
Thor,
name?
by the way.
Thor, you said?
Yep.
Lightning?
I mean, Tori had it pretty close. It's Lightning.
Lightning? Okay, nice. What's up, man?
Lightning. So I have a question.
Yep.
Considering how most NBA championship level teams, their best players over 6'6", outside of Steph Curry and Isaiah Thomas, is there a player on the Portland Trailblazers currently who could develop into the number one option on a championship team? If not, how do you think the Blazers should acquire such talent in the next 10 years?
That's a great question, chat. Feel free to answer that question. Eric, I'll give a one-word answer. You give a one-word answer. It's a yes or no question. I would say no. What do you say?
I mean, if I only get one answer, it's probably no to be in that star. I hold out hope, that Scoot and Sharp can eventually be that. But like you said, you still need that
Yeah.
bigger guy that's like that too.
Well, like my question is Kobe Bryant's height was listed as what 6'6", but that was back when they
Yeah.
measured with shoes. So like Sharp
Yeah.
is probably the same height as Kobe. So,
Yeah.
but like Kobe was a top 10, top 50 player
Yeah,
of
like
all
Shaq
time.
and Paul Gasol. And,
You know what I mean? And Steph is the greatest shooter ever. So it's like I get the point where it's like if you're gonna have a guard or like a smaller wing, like 6'5", 6'6" wing that's your best player on a championship team, they almost have to be like an outlier in terms of how good they are. Steph and Kobe are obviously just legendary, like defined eras type of legendary. So I say no just because it would be extremely
statistically,
yeah, like the odds of Sharp or Scoot becoming that guy is just so low just because it's really hard to become generationally good. That's not even a knock on them. Like, it's just really hard to become that level of good. So I think no, and I think that's why this upcoming draft is very important for the Blazers, because I think they'll have a chance to get that guy, especially if it's somebody like Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
Well, you also have to factor in personality and mentality into such things. I mean, the rare exception I'd say is Kawhi Leonard. He's just kind of a freak of nature with his physique and his ability to just make stuff happen. I mean, that year, 2019, with the Raptors, I've never seen anything like that from an individual player go from one team to another and just dominate with the way he did. And I mean, how did the Raptors have all those pieces? I mean, they had so many pieces around them too already. You can't just say, "Oh, yeah, Kawhi went off." He did. He really did. I watched that entire run, but it takes so much to win a championship.
Well, they had.
Like,
they
it
were the
takes
number one
everything.
seed a couple years leading up to that. They just had a LeBron problem, and then that year they got
I
lucky
mean,
'cause
Tatum
LeBron left the East.
Yeah.
Tatum offensively, last playoffs as a scorer didn't look as good as he'd looked in several years ahead of that, but the rest of the team picked up, and
Yeah.
his playmaking was such a big factor.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
was
that
just
Boston team
incredible.
kind of reminded me a little bit of the Kawhi Raptors team, just in terms of like skilled bigs, complementary defenders, a bunch of guys that can put the ball on the floor a little bit, right? And that's ultimately what it takes, especially in the NBA. Like, stars are how do I word this? And then Eric, like, I want your full thoughts on this. Stars in today's age, they don't have as much of a gap over the rest of the league, just because the league has gotten more skilled, right? And back in the day, like, there was a big gap between like your Kobe Bryant and your average starting shooting guard, just in terms of their skill and how they could score off the dribble. So I think as the NBA
Like a Rudy
progresses-
Fernandez.
yeah. I mean, Rudy was pretty gifted, but yeah, I just think there's a bigger gap between your stars and your like average NBA players than there is now. So that guy either needs to be like a matchup nightmare that's really hard to guard, and or you need to have a bunch of really good players around him that can do a bunch of things that can contribute on both ends of the floor. And I think that's the way the NBA has trended. I don't think it's a surprise that the Nuggets won a championship when they had Bruce Brown and KCP, and now that they don't have either of those guys, they don't look like the same team, even though they still have Jokic, they still have Murray, they still have Gordon, they still have MPJ. Bruce Brown and KCP were very important for that team because they were two-way players that could space the floor, could defend. So, you know, I think it's something where you do need somebody that can cause matchup issues and like has, you know, some size. You do need like a star level player beyond just the guard positions, unless you have a generationally good guard. And the Blazers, I don't think, have that right now. Eric, what are your thoughts?
I think the Blazers are doing a pretty good job of finding those secondary guys like Denny, Tamani. You know, you can throw whoever else in there. So the key is you can't just have those guys, though, like, because the Celtics, like you mentioned, they have the stars and they have like top end complementary pieces. And they have,
Yeah, Drew Holiday's incredible.
and Porzingis isn't even playing this year so far, but like he's like a luxury for them. Like they don't necessarily need him, but like he helps them be better when he plays. But it's like kind of a side note right now. Like, oh, it comes back, whatever. But so the Blazers have to find the star that not only is a star, but that complements the players around him. And so, yeah, I mean, it's frustrating to me that we never really did that with Dame, in my opinion. So they need to do a much better job of it. But I feel like that's one thing they have done a good job is finding guys that could be possibly a rotation piece on a good team. Now they just have to get lucky. And this is why, again, because the Celtics did this, you trade your veterans when you're in this rebuilding process. Thunder did the same thing. They would take on veterans for picks, and then they would move them and get more than they traded for them. They made a bunch of smart moves, got a ton of picks, and just took chance after chance. And sometimes, you get a top draft pick like a Chet Holmgren, and it works out for you. Hopefully that's the case with Scoot and Klingon and Sharp and all those guys. But at the same time, you also use those other assets to hit on other picks. Lou Dort, undrafted too. Jalen was the 12th pick or something. Yeah. You take a chance on an Ousmane Dieng at 11, and he hasn't panned out yet. But it's just the process of getting as many assets as you can to find as many players as you can. And when you have that many opportunities to take chances, you're eventually going to probably hit on one. So it's not only just finding that star, but also setting your team up to, one, be in a position to keep locating and finding talent to complete your roster, and then also being in a position where you have the assets. Like the Thunder right now could potentially have the #1 pick this year with Flag. Yeah. And I know this is a super unique situation, but they have the picks to still go all in and get another star to pair with their team right now if they choose to. I mean, they might not even have to, right? They're so good. But they have that opportunity. So that's why you need to build as many assets as possible, because if you do get lucky and get a Flag or an Ace Bailey next year and they do become a star and that your team is on the rise, you need to have those assets to either complement them and find players that, like you mentioned Kawhi, the 15th pick, you get a player like that with the 15th pick and you're set then if you have a star already. And so they need to do that, and then they also need to be in a position to go all in around that player too, and not be completely strapped of assets. So it's a tough process, but I think the right move right now clearly seems to trade vets and keep trying to not necessarily win a ton of games. Sorry, Desmond, not be top 4 in the West yet. And try to find
Chauncey Billups.
Try to find that star in the draft, and then create enough assets by trading those vets to build the team around them.
Yeah, they they got 2 second-round picks last year, one of which will be a role player on a really good team one day in Kamara, and then Rupert has a chance to be as well. You got Avdia, Klingon. They got these really good role players developing. It's just, man, can you add that front court player, that forward that could hopefully be a top 10 player someday, and then the Blazers have a chance. And hopefully those Bucks picks are good. If Giannis demands a trade anytime before those picks come along, those picks could be really good, and that could help you go all in, like Eric said. So, I think that's the most important thing over the next year or two is finding that star front court player. That was a really good question, man.
We got to keep Chauncey then, because he's the only way we're gonna get a chance at Cooper Flag.
Yeah, I mean that is the silver lining with all this stuff that we rant about on any given night. Did you have anything else for us?
No. I guess there's one question regarding Rupert. Yeah. What do you think his ceiling truly is realistically? Because he's got a lot of athletic tools. Defensively, he looks good. I just want to know what his ceiling is, in your view. Like,
Yeah,
what's your perspective on him?
Chat, feel free to answer as well. That's another good question. Probably like I want to go like I don't know if I want to go fifth best starter. I would say ceiling like very optimistically like probably like fifth best starter on a championship team or like a contender. That's about as optimistic as I can get. I just think like athleticism, he's never going to be much of a shot creator. He's always going to project as more like, okay, he'll play some defense, he'll make some shots and make some plays in the flow off the dribble, right? So I do think like fifth best starter on a championship team is where I'd go for his ceiling. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, that's probably about right.
But he's still very far away. He's still very young though. So
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
we're talking years from now.
It's so hard when you're talking about a player that is all like raw potential. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned Batum earlier. Like if you get a Batum Wes Matthews type player, I think that's like Tori said about a fourth or fifth level starter. And yeah, it's probably a ceiling, but I think that's really good, especially with the second round pick.
Yeah. Well, thanks for answering the questions. I'm gonna give it to Gabe and let him have a shot.
Thank you, Thor.
That'll be entertaining, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Have a good night.
Appreciate you. Alrighty. Here's the man, the myth, the legend. Gabe.
Big fans, man. I'm a big fan.
You're a big fan.
What's up, Gabe? Hey, Gabe, don't cuss.
What's going on, guys? Long time listener, first time caller.
You've actually been on the show before. That's Cap.
Kind of, messed up Skype audio.
I was gonna say.
Listening to the
I was gonna say, long time listener, first time successful caller.
Nice,
All right.
nice. What's up, man? So we play you guys tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to that. I'll hop on your stream for that. What do you got on your mind?
First things first, wanted to ask Eric if he is available tomorrow to stream. It's totally cool if you can't. But
Like during the game?
yeah, and you don't have to be there for the whole time. I asked Tori, but I was gonna message you. I figured this would be a fun way to ask you.
I might be available. Yeah.
He wants to use you for your looks, Eric. That's really
You'll probably get objectified, but we'll talk about that later.
All right.
Go ahead.
So could you guys just give me so two questions. First one, could you guys give me your preview of tomorrow's game, like what you guys think is going to happen?
Oh man, I have no idea because the second night of a back-to-back, and
that's kind of unfair.
The Thunder are definitely better. It's just basically the Blazers will have nights where they shoot like 20% from three, and tonight they shot like 43% and still got blown out against a good team. So you don't really know what you're going to get from the Blazers offensively. Defensively, they can cause some issues. I like the versatile defenders they have to guard somebody like Booker, guard somebody like KD. I think they struggle more against ball movement. Is your guys' ball movement better this year? I haven't watched you enough.
It's been very good.
Yeah,
so
Budenholzer moves the ball.
Yeah, I think the Suns ultimately win this game by 9 to 11 points if I had to guess, but I don't know, man. The Blazers are kind of feisty, and if like Ant could get going, Grant could get going, you guys still kind of lack those perimeter defenders. Ryan Dunn, of course, has been really good, but it's the Blazers need Grant and Simons to be better. And Simons today was awful. So it's just tough to know what you're going to get from them offensively. They'll have some competitive moments defensively, but if you start doing something to exploit the defense, the Blazers won't change it. The Blazers won't adjust. And third, like I think at halftime, the game will probably be very, very close. And then the third quarter, the Blazers are absolutely horrible.
That's usually our bad quarter. So
well, maybe we
keep an eye on that.
Maybe we get a good third quarter tomorrow, Eric.
Yeah.
Or a really bad one.
Gabe, this is also
from both teams.
this is also our 5th game in 7 days tomorrow night. I think
Yikes.
all in different cities as well. So it's not necessarily a case where I'm worried about a young team with legs, but that's a lot of games in 1 week and then to have
Not
to
to
play.
mention it's a back to back, but back
Yeah.
to back plus
Against
5
the-
out of 7.
And I've been pretty impressed with the way Phoenix has been playing. So I think you're in pretty good shape tomorrow night. But I am expecting
will
the Blazers
say-
to show up and scrap.
I do too, because we're still arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't tell anybody this, but like,
Why are the Suns so arrogant all the time, man?
because Booker and KD are arrogant people.
Well, I mean, they're stars, so I get it, but
I think. I don't know for sure, but,
like,
it's
but
like,
even Ayton even Ayton when he was there, he was very arrogant. Now he's brought that
True.
arrogance over here, so we got some of it, I guess. But
yeah, I expect us to be disrespectful, and if y'all are hungry, you'll be slapping us around, and then we'll have to do what we have to do to get back into it. And it just depends on will the ball be falling or not. Like, we came out, we were getting smacked down, and we were like, oh my gosh, we need a big third quarter. We came out and hit our 15 out of 15 shots in the third and
talk
took
about
the
the
lead.
Clippers game, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't do that. That's not something that happens a lot. So like, I could definitely see us just take. They'll come into this game more than likely thinking that you guys are scared of us and that you're just gonna lay down. So if you don't do that,
Yeah,
you're fine.
yeah. I mean, they'll defend, and most of our role players will hustle, like Grant, Ayton, and then Simons tonight defensively. Like, they'll take a lot of plays off. So rebounding's been an issue. So if you can crash the glass, But the thing is like Ayton's going to be motivated playing in Phoenix. So, hopefully he controls the glass. I want a competitive game. Like, if we lose, we lose. We expect that, right? We're rebuilding. But I at least want a competitive game. It's never fun going on your stream and getting the doors blown off of us. So hopefully they're at least competitive.
Yeah. Last question.
Yeah.
I appreciate your guys' honesty. You guys have been really fair.
Yep. That's all we do is be honest. So what's your final question?
If you guys are aware of what's been going on with Nurkic, could you guys just break down what you think is going on with his struggles? It's been really bad. It's been really bad, like to the point where it's noticeable to a bozo. Like, anyone that watches is like, wow, you guys, because he starts and we've been going down by like 20 points in these first quarters. They pull him for Plumlee of all freaking people, and we pull back to tying, and then they put Nurk back in, and then all of a sudden we go back down, and then it's like we're trying to do right by him by not disrespecting him and being like, you're benched. It's like, oh well, tonight we think Plumlee might give us a little bit better, but it's like at some point it's gonna break. Like, he's gonna break. I feel like he's pressing guys. he how like he feels about people talking crap about him on Twitter and stuff. It looks like he's trying to shut people up, and that's just making things worse. So if you guys have seen that, what do you think?
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because like he's obviously had more often than not times where it's like, what are you doing this year? And I think some of that you just have to live with. But there's also been a couple times where it's like, wow, Nurk completely got us back in this game, or like there has been a couple good moments as well. And Nurk's, ever since his injury, man, it's been a frustrating case of the highs are high and the lows are low, and he doesn't really have a lot of just steady, consistent in between.
Yeah.
And so, and nowadays with social media and stuff, it's just like you're either garbage or you're the GOAT, and most of the time, people are gonna call out and just be really harsh on the bad times. And he's the problem is when you guys are healthy, he doesn't need to do much. Like he should just focus on the things he is good at and not try to do anything else. And
But you know what's happening is they're giving him the Okogie treatment, and this only happens when we play centers that are bigger than him, which should be rare because he handles business against small guys. But what teams do to us is they just treat whoever's on the court that's not Beal, Booker, or Durant or Tyus Jones, because of course he can shoot. They treat that fifth player like Okogie, which is like leave him alone and force him to put up all of their shots. And so we feed Nurk out of respect, and it's the right thing to do. And if that center's bigger than him, it gets hairy.
Yeah, I mean, that's just where it needs to be like, okay, if defenses aren't respecting him, they're paying attention to your stars. Like, he needs to just be finishing plays. Like, I would not be throwing him the ball in the post when he's struggling. There's games where teams will go small and the Blazers would feed him and he'd go off for like 30 points and just dominate, right? But it was not often. So that's just where it's, sitting on the block, his defender cheating over, dump off pass, he needs to finish those plays. The thing is he seems to want to contribute in more ways than just being like a play finisher. And he can kind of pass. There's just times he tries too hard to make a really difficult pass when the window just isn't there. And that's kind of the problem I feel like with him is like there's times where he tries too hard and gets in his own head and struggles and then like becomes mentally defeated. And then he like really struggles. But it's never, in my opinion,
he's like a gunslinger with passing. It's like he'd never seen a passing window he doesn't think he can hit.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes really works out.
You know what's crazy is I wonder how much of that is he played with Jokic. Like they were both rookies together, right? And he sees what Jokic has become. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why he tries so hard to be like a really good passer and try these difficult passes. It's there's definitely like, I don't know how to phrase this the right way. There's just definitely like a mental aspect to his game that causes him to struggle, I think, at times. But it's never from like a lack of wanting to do well. Sometimes I think he cares too much about doing well, which I'd rather have that than like somebody that just like takes plays off and doesn't hustle and doesn't play hard. And that's kind of been my issues with Ayton. So that's just where you kind of got to take the good with the bad. That's why you need good center depth, though, so that if he's having one of those nights, you can turn to a guy like Plumlee, right? Or you could turn to a guy like Oso. I know he's been playing a little bit. You can turn to somebody where if he's having a bad night, you don't have to rely on him. And he does set great screens. He does do some little things. Like he'll box out. He'll control the boards. So it's just where I appreciate that little stuff, knowing that everything else is just going to be hit or miss, and that's just kind of what you get with him.
Last thing, and I'll take your answer off the air.
Yep.
What do you guys think about his matchup versus Ayton tomorrow? Like, who gets the better of who?
Chat, who do you think? I'll do a chat poll for that.
Gabe, did you watch the Blazer game tonight? Did you catch any of it?
I did not, but I plan to rewatch it.
Well, it was funny.
Anything I should look out for?
Well, no, it's funny that you mentioned the force feeding Nurk when he's got a mismatch or whatever, because OKC Chet got in foul trouble and they went small and had like Caruso guarding Ayton, and we tried to force it to him, and it was an absolute disaster. It was terrible. He got bodied and just completely taken out of the game by a guard.
He can't catch an entry pass. He can't hold position in the post for an entry pass.
And then you're the bad guy for calling it out.
Well, it's like if I was a guard, I really wouldn't want to try and pass the ball into the post to him because I feel like he would somehow make it so it's a turnover on me. That's how I would feel playing with him. So the problem is, though, we were trying to do it from the top of the arc when he's in the middle of the key, which is just like silly. Like take it to a wing and enter it that way, or set him a screen. Like do something else. So it's partly coaching issue, but I I think Aiton will play better. I think with Scoot, like Scoot feeds him pretty well. He's had a couple alley-oop dunks this year. Like he's rolling a little harder this year than I feel like he did last year. It's not consistent, but his mid-range shot has kind of been off, and sometimes that leads to him actually rolling all the way instead of stopping in the
Because
mid-range.
you know Nurk's going to go out of his way to be physical with them.
Yeah.
It's his advantage over him. So
I have no idea. It's two guys, you don't know what you're going to get out of them on any
Right.
given night. So it could
True.
be anything. It's really tough to say. You know, Suns fans would probably say Nurkic, Blazer fans would probably say Aiton, even though both.
no, because we're down on him right now as a fan
but
base.
Blazer,
So I don't
there's
know,
a lot of
man.
Blazer fans that are down on Aiton too that can't stand Aiton, and I'm kind of one of them. So
There's a lot of them that think he's a top 5 center.
well, there's a lot of. I don't want to insult people, but there's a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about. That's the
Insert
nicest way I can say
insult.
it. Yeah, insert insult here. I mean,
I don't want to insult people, but
yeah, people don't know how to analyze center play. That's the biggest thing I've learned in the last like 3 years is a guy like Aiton, he'll get some mid-range buckets that look pretty, and that's what people care about. But like he doesn't box out and somebody gets a rebound, they don't notice it. He's completely out of position defensively, they don't notice it. Somebody tries to pass the ball like up to him and he just doesn't jump for it and lets it go out of bounds. Oh, it's a bad pass. You know, like that sort of stuff, like jogging back on defense so the center beats him down the court and scores. Like people don't notice it because sometimes he's not even on the screen when he's running back on defense by the time they score. So he's I'm just so ready to move on from him. Like I'd be completely happy once Robert Williams gets healthy to just have Robert Williams and Donovan Clingan right now, and I've been over it. You knew how I felt about Aiton before the Blazers ever got him, and he had a good stretch at the end of last year. But I always tell people what you would always say: he's gonna have these good stretches, but they never last. He's never consistent. So not gonna buy into that.
is anyone in your fan base excited to see Klingon versus Nurk, or does that not exist?
We're not playing Klingan enough.
Yeah,
He's playing with the
Klingan's-
bench, so he's probably not going to play against Nurk.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give him like 12 minutes.
What if he just dominates him when he's in there? You know, just like that would make you guys feel
Yeah, he's
so
just,
good about that pick.
He's just still a little clumsy. He needs to get stronger. So like dominating isn't really his thing. I do think if he plays against Nurk for like 12 minutes, he's probably blocking at least 2 of his shots around the rim. I would say that, but yeah, I mean Klingan's work in progress. Anyway.
All
Well,
right, man. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
yeah, see you tomorrow. We'll be on
Later, Gabe.
Suns
Have a good
Valley
night.
podcast. Check it out. Shout out to Gabe. Appreciate you, Gabe. We'll be doing a watch party tomorrow over on their channels. The Blazers play the Suns. We always do this collaboration when the Blazers play the Suns. And then the final caller we have for tonight, I saw like one other person in here, but they're gone. So we got Sude, Eric. We got Sude
Sude, what's up, man?
calling in. What's going on, Sude? How you doing?
Hey, I was just curious what your
What? Do you got a voice changer on, bro? What in the world you do?
what?
Your mic sounds so high pitched.
Oh, I'm using my phone right now. That could be what it is. Is it bad?
You're Sude, right?
No, I'm Tristan.
Oh. Sorry, we have a friend that I've talked to. My bad. We have a friend that I've talked to a ton in here, and his name is also Tristan. And I thought you were him. And I was like thrown for a loop. Like, your voice does not sound like his. And he always
Yeah.
used
Oh,
to,
no.
he always used to mess around in our voice calls with voice changers and stuff. So I thought I was being trolled. So okay, we'll just restart.
This
Oh,
is
no.
Tristan Klein. What's up?
Tristan Klein. Yeah, I think the other Tristan, his last name starts with a C too, so I think that's why I got confused. What's going on, man? What's going on? How you doing?
Hey, good. Yeah, I was just curious. I know entering the season, you guys had pretty low expectations, and so did I. But I thought that maybe the Blazers could make a play-in, that 10 seed. And then they start the season off with a really bad game against Golden State. But since then, they've been on all three of their losses. They've been at least competitive for the first half of the game. So I was curious if Chauncey and Joe Cronin have a good mindset of not tanking and wanting to compete. Do you think the Blazers could make a run for that 10 seed and maybe shake some things up to get to the 8 seed now? I don't think they're gonna. If they get the 8 seed, they're gonna get swept. But do you think they have a shot at that after what you've seen through the first 6 games?
I think if they're a better coach, you could maybe have that conversation. It's just tough with how good the West is. I think in a year where the West was a little worse, and if the Blazers had a better coach, you could maybe have a chance at that if you're the Blazers. But I think right now it's I mean, what teams are they better than is kind of the question that Eric's asked people, that I ask people when we have this conversation. What teams in the West are they better than? I mean, you could say the Jazz. You could maybe say the Spurs. You could maybe say the Clippers without Kawhi, right? But any other team, I just don't see the Blazers being better than. I think their ceiling is 12th.
The Pelicans won tonight, but they're without
Yeah.
and CJ now for a couple weeks. They might struggle for a bit. Obviously, the Nuggets are down there in the standings. Even though they're less of a team than they were, I don't expect that to be the case where we're better than them. But yeah, I mean, Clippers, Spurs, Jazz, Pelicans, you just have to find one more team. I see a path. I don't think it's going to happen, but it does seem a little bit more possible than it did at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you look at it, though, I would like to see a play-in with a young team, but it's definitely better for them to get a higher draft pick because a play-in won't mean anything for them just to lose a play-in game.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fun, and obviously it would be fun to cover, but it's going to be really tough to get there. So, I don't want to rush the process or rush expectations because then it's even more frustrating to watch a team like this. So, if they get there, they get there naturally. Like, I don't want them to aim for that. The Thunder got there naturally, and then they became a 1 seed. Now they look freaking phenomenal, and they destroyed us. So, that's just kind of where I'm at with that. I don't really think about, like, could they make a play-in or anything like that, just because I think the West is too tough this year. Maybe you got a couple teams that'll hit the rebuild button in the next year, and maybe that's a conversation for next season. But until that happens, it's just such a deep conference.
Yeah. It is hard, though, to go from 9 straight seasons making it to the playoffs to now 4th straight season with being a bottom 3 seed, which is what we're probably going to be this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm sorry for confusing you with somebody completely different. My bad.
Oh, no. Yeah, you're fine. I was confused when you answered it and you're calling me Sudan.
Yeah, no, I was very confused. Yeah, same name, I think, same initials.
Sorry.
That's crazy. And the thing is this dude has been changing to his name on everything. The thing is, I just outed Sude's name on accident too. So, anyway, at least it's late night Blazers Uprise, man. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for calling in. And that's gonna.
Have a good one, Tristan.
R. Collins.
Yep.
Man, I'm just gonna play that off. I'm just gonna play that off because, my guy, Sude is sounds completely different. That's so funny. Anyway, we got a couple donations. We got somebody. I didn't want to read off this donation because he's roasting a caller. You know what, Eric? I don't respect anybody roasting any callers if they don't have the guts to call in themselves. Okay? But also I understand it at the same time. Okay? Be nice to our callers. Be easy on our callers. Okay? That's all I ask. Because they, a lot of people don't call in. They just like to sit and chat and talk, So shout out to everybody that called in. Young Woo 99 though, with a $5 donation, says Desmond, one of our earlier callers, is delusional if he thinks the Blazers are a top 4 team in the West. WTF, this dude smoking that good strain. Gotta love these biased fans. Well, Listen, he has a bold take and he stands on it. I can at least respect that. Right, Eric? Do you have any words?
Yeah, I mean, Desmond seems like a great guy, but I mean, to say top four, like, I don't know, man. Like, I can't see it, and especially with you look at the top teams, you know, the Thunder, Dallas, Minnesota. There's three right there that are for sure 100 times better than us. But like, so I don't see how you get there this year. Now, if you want to say this team is building towards something special, and you want to be optimistic like that, absolutely. But yeah, yeah. I don't have a problem with people thinking that's delusional either. Sorry.
Yep. Desmond says, I'm not offended. I love that. Yeah, stand on business, man. If that's your opinion, that's your opinion. Stand on it. Never be afraid to go against the grain. Okay? Even though I definitely disagree. Shout out to Bruce Davis, member for 24 months. Says, hi, Tori, Eric. Thank you for the best Blazer channel. Thank you, Bruce. And Bruce also had a $2 donation. Says, I'm in the Philippines. Go Blazers. Thank you, guys. Hopefully you're having fun in the Philippines, man. Thank you for your donation. It's good to see you in here. Wes Davison says, I'm a homer too. I just like this team, so I can be delusional also. Sometimes being delusional is fun. I was delusional and thought the Blazers had a chance to win this game at halftime, Eric.
You were thinking we're gonna have that stream where we were 3-3 and just like last year, and
yeah, because we were 3-3
coming off a good win. Yeah.
I mean, this would have been a phenomenal win. I don't know who we beat in our 6th game last year, but that second quarter was the most fun I've had watching Blazer basketball in a while. I was like into this game in a way that I haven't been in a while, man. Maybe outside of the Dame game, right? And just for them to come out the way they did in the third quarter, it was like the highest of highs to like me being so pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
I actually yelled at my TV today for the first time in a while during that third quarter. And listen, if they didn't have that good second quarter and I wasn't riding that high, I would not have been as frustrated with the third quarter. It would have been like, oh, more of the same crap. Okay. But it was like, dude, you guys just had the 17-point comeback. And then you're going to come out like that in the third quarter, get outscored 38-17. Consistently getting punked in the third quarter just frustrates me. And I should have saw it coming because they always do this. They always do this. Last game against the Clippers, what were they in the third quarter? They got outscored 35-28. They won that game, but they got outscored 35-28 in the third quarter. The game before that against the Sacramento Kings, they got outscored 38-28 in the third quarter. Okay? The game before that, 125-103 win against the Pelicans. They won the third quarter, 34-30, and they won the game by 22. So, you know, they have a decent third quarter and they win by 22. The second game of the year, the game before that against the Pelicans, it was 38-37. Basically, they played no defense in the third quarter. And on opening night against the Warriors, they got outscored 38-22. How many third quarters was that with 38 points given up? It was like three or four. Because there's 38 tonight. It was 38 in...
Too many.
Yeah, 38 in game
Too
2.
many.
38 in game 1. 35 against the Clippers. 38 against the Kings. So that's 4. So in the third quarter this year, in 6 games, they've given up 38 points 4 times, 35 points once, and 34 points once. That's bad. That's consistently terrible defense.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happens at halftime?
Great question. I have no idea. So hopefully tomorrow we can give up less than 38 points in the third quarter. Because apparently the Suns have bad quarters. Chat thinks that Ayton is going to get the better of Nurk tomorrow. 59% of the vote for Ayton, 41% of the vote for Nurk. I'll be live on Gabe's channel, and maybe Eric will be there too for the watch party tomorrow. And then we'll do the post game show. Maybe a little bit lighter of a post game show, maybe like an hour and a half. Do you want to win tomorrow, Tori? I always want to beat the Suns because it's fun to beat the Suns. Eric, you want to win tomorrow, right?
I'm good either way. I'm not wanting to win any games, but I'm also not wanting to see them play like crap and lose. So
Yeah.
I'm cool either way this year. That's like when people say, "Oh, you're just negative." Like, no, I'm chilling this year. Like, I'm trying not to get too high or too low about things other than long-term things.
Have we even had a Brant rant this year?
I don't know.
Like a little mini one, but we haven't. What do we got to do to get a full-fledged Brant rant?
Keep taking Ryan Repair out when he plays well.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a wrap for the stream. Shout out to everybody who called in. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Looking forward to doing more of these in the future. I will say this was a lot easier doing it through Discord. It worked pretty well. So the thing is that I like with call-ins is you never know what you're gonna get. You never know what questions you're gonna get. You never know where the conversation's going to go. And I love to just mix it up. And I think having one of these every 6, 7, 8 streams is a fun way to mix things up. Tomorrow night, just kind of a normal post-game show. We're going to have like a Discord game night afterwards, so you can hop in that if you want to and hang out with us. I don't know if Eric will be there, but I'll be there. And then on Monday, we will have a members night, the 4th, as the Blazers play. I don't even remember who they play.
Do you want to explain what that means?
Yeah, basically, if you're a channel member, we're going to have some stuff for you on Monday night. Okay? And if you want to become a channel member, click the join button down below.
Did you read the 2 Bruce messages?
Yes.
Did I miss you? Oh. I know we talked about the one I thought we would.
Yeah. Yep. What's some stuff? Jackson, it's a surprise. It's a surprise. Okay? But if you want to participate, click that join button, or hopefully somebody gifts you a membership sometime soon, and you can participate in the members only night. But anyway, Eric, any final words?
Thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone who participated in the questions. They were all really good. It was fun to talk to you guys, and hope we can be more interactive in the future. And yeah, go Ryan Repair, go Blazers. See you tomorrow night.
Yep. Hopefully the Blazers won't lose by 23 tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow should be fun. Looking forward to it. With that being said, that's a wrap for the Blazers Uprise postgame show. The Blazers lose by 23. What a game of runs this game was. At least we got a fun quarter, right? We got to look at the positives. And we're on our way to capturing the flag. We're trying to, at least, as best as we can. Anyway, we're out of here. Thank you guys for calling in. Thank you guys for watching the stream. Hit the like button on the way out of here. Subscribe if you're new. And until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!